Guys, if you're like me and you hate taking notes on separate pieces of paper or cue cards, I just use my textbook to make notes and go back to it before the exam. So let's just go through one page like this and you'll kind of get an idea, I think, how we can go about this. So guidelines for working with interpreters in mediations. Okay, so I only highlight key important things on this page to the point where if I were to go back to the text, if I only read the highlighted bits in the entire page, I will still understand what is going on in the whole page. And I don't highlight the whole thing because that's just counterintuitive. You don't want to sit there reading all of it all over again, but just key words for you to have your memory triggered. So let's go through this. 2 types of interpreters. Okay, 2 types. Interpreters. Consecutive interpreter listens while the speaker talks and interprets when the speaker pauses. This form of interpretation gives the speaker time to organize his or her thoughts and the interpreter time to interpret accurately. But the use of the consecutive interpreter requires speakers to learn to talk with strategic pauses, doubles the meeting time, and poses the risk of becoming tedious, resulting in the listeners losing attention. So what I typically do, highlight the whole, I kind of go through the whole page and then just highlight the key bits, and then we'll come back to it. So the important thing in this paragraph is this interpreter listens, speaker is talking, while speaker is talking, right? And interprets while the speaker is pauses. That's it. And then this gives, so what does this do? This gives time, right? That was important. Gives time to the interpreter to interpret accurately, okay? Gives time to interpret accurately, but speakers need to learn to talk with strategic pauses. It doubles the meeting time. That's what happens. Becomes tedious and listeners losing attention, okay? And then I'll go through the whole page just like this. So same thing, simultaneous interpreter. So what is that? Who is that? They interpret as the speaker speaks, okay? As speaker speaks. The simultaneous interpreter must be specially trained for this more demanding. It is more demanding form of interpretation. Listeners must adjust to hearing both the speaker and the interpreter talking simultaneously. Right, so it's kind of hard on the listeners. Unless listeners can hear the interpretation through headphones connected to a microphone of the interpreter who is in a soundproof booth. Simultaneous interpretation permits speakers to talk without disruptive pauses and shortens the allocated time. So compared to the consecutive interpreter, this shortens the time allocated for interpreting, but increases chances of errors because the interpreter has less time to hear whole thoughts. And select the most accurate translation, right? Simultaneous interpreters are usually more expensive, right? More expensive than consecutive. Okay, so this I thought was important. Some of the rest of it, okay, listeners must adjust to, okay, maybe this is also important. Listeners adjust to hearing both speaker and interpreter, okay? And the thing about using microphone booths, like I already know that. I don't need to highlight it again, right? So if you can see, I didn't highlight the whole page, but just let's go this whole paragraph. If I didn't know what was going on, if I just kind of started my books or came back to my notes, and then if I wanted to jog my memory, if all I read was the highlighted bits, 2 types of interpreters. Consecutive interpreter listens while speaker talks, interprets speaker pauses, okay? Gives time, interpret accurately, speakers learn to talk with strategic pauses, doubles meeting time, becomes tedious. Okay, got it. Simultaneous interpreter as speaker speaks. Listeners adjust hearing both speaker and interpreter, shortens the time, increases chances of error, less time, hear whole thoughts. Well, I highlighted less time again, so I didn't need to do that, but it's okay to make mistakes like that. It doesn't matter. More expensive than consecutive interpreters. So if all I read were just the highlighted parts, I still understand what's happening in the whole passage, right? So that's kind of one way I went about going through my entire textbook. And then I didn't really make notes. I just kind of highlighted the key areas. If some people want to make notes separately after that, so like me, read the highlighted bits again, now you know what's going on. And then if you want to make notes based on your highlighted bits, like that's fine. But I just thought this is the best way that worked for me, and I hope it helps someone out there. All right, thanks, bye.